Calix Boxing, joined by D Style Boxing. This is another episode of HCP Aftermath. It is Monday. It's Monday morning, beautiful Monday morning, December 4th. We're almost through the year. Good Lord. We're almost through the year, and it's going to be a hot December. So it's going to be a busy month of shows. Y'all make sure to hit that like button as y'all come through and always leave comments for those people watching in the archives. King Rye just realized belts do matter. That's Lord High Executioner. It's rolling through. James Burrell, good to see you again. I don't need no stinking belt. I have suspenders. Bruce Gass, appreciate you coming through as always. Raleigh just said he's moving to 154 or 147 and that Ryan don't deserve a shot. I did see that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Anthony Sanchez. And like I said, hit that like button as y'all come through. D-Style, how you doing this Monday?
I'm doing good. Chilling like a villain and fixing leaks, apparently.
Fixing leaks. Never a
Gotta
good
fix
thing,
the
right?
toilet. Is what it is. You know what I mean?
Los Chingones Boxing, appreciate you for tapping in.
Shout out.
Always shout out to him. Shout out to that crew right there. Let's talk about Floyd Schofield before we get into the whole Ryan Garcia, because there's a lot that goes along with the whole Ryan Garcia thing from that Friday or that Thursday, really, all the way through the fight and then after. Comments after the fight. Just a lot to unpack from that whole 3 or 4 days. But Floyd Schofield, one first round knockout. He's a guy that y'all, I mean, you were one of the first people, I feel like, on the YTBC to start doing interviews with this guy, really pointing him out early on. Where do you think he's at right now from what you saw on Saturday and what you saw from this year? Because he's a busy guy. He's been busy.
Yeah, he's busy. He's active. I remember like it was yesterday. He was like I believe 18 or 17 a couple years ago. All I was doing, I was just scrolling through Facebook, and his publicist at the time posted like a clip of him, and he's landing these combinations. And I go, oh, who's this kid? What's up? You know, and then I hear the age. I'm like, he's only 18 or 17, whatever it was at the time. And I asked, can we get him on? And we went ahead and arranged that, had him on about 3 times in a short period of time because he was so active. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it was the updates came quick, you know, because and he's only getting better. And I think he checks all the boxes in terms of, from a boxing fan's perspective, he's exciting to watch. He's skilled. He does not have a negative style. Mm-hmm. He has knockout power. He's got speed. He's got everything. And he has a promotional company behind him right now. It looks like Golden Boy's really behind him, which is good.
Yeah.
And it looks like he wants that Jojo Diaz fight, and I like that fight right now. I do. If Jojo could get it together, make weight, that is a great test for Floyd Schofield. And dare I say, I don't think low of Jojo, but I honestly feel he might give him some fits. But overall, I do think Floyd Schofield not only beats Jojo, I think he gets him out of there. I think he'll stop. I think he stops Jojo Diaz. I do. And if he doesn't, he'll at the very least he'll outbox him. And I think that highly of Schofield. I really do. Look, the opponent he just fought, you could tell just looked overwhelmed, and he was just head and shoulders above him, right? And he's only getting better. He's still young, bro. Yeah, Floyd Schofield is a young kid, and 21. He's only getting better. He looked polished as a teen, and now he's throwing combinations that a lot of veterans can't really do. He's showing better poise in the pocket than some other guys do. So I think he looked good, and he's active, which is good, and I hope to first of all get him back on the podcast, number one, but second, I hope to see him proceed forward. And I think the Jojo fight is the right fight to make at the right time. Jojo himself has come on social media and said, let's do it. That's the way to go, you know, so let's do it. I'm looking forward to that fight. And I'll tell you right now, Calix, I would favor Kid Austin over a lot of guys at 135. You'll be surprised who I would favor him against.
Keyshawn Davis?
I actually would, yes.
Mm, I like that fight a lot. And Keyshawn
I
Davis
would
is
favor him
asking for it.
against Frank Martin.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like the
Michelle
Keyshawn Davis
Rivera.
fight
Michelle
is a good fight,
Rivera.
though. I think he beats Michel Rivera.
Huh.
I do. I really do. Like, I think I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Especially if a lot of those guys you're mentioning are not the most active. Like,
Right.
I'm just saying, but the JoJo fight is the right fight at the time, and he's only going to get better.
This is what I value from Floyd Schofield. Number one, marketable guy. He seems like a good guy. He makes himself accessible, right? He not only makes himself accessible with interviews, he makes himself accessible in fighting. This is fourth fight this year, four fights last year. I believe before that he turned pro in, I think it was October 2020. I looked it up earlier. So he's a little over 3 years active. And he's what, 26 fights in 3 years. So he's moving. He's
He was
moving.
2-0 when we interviewed him.
Yeah,
2-0.
he's moving. He went through the Mexican circuit, and now they're gradually moving him along. So I like that he's active. I think he's with the right company to be active because Oscar will get guys active if they want to fight
Yeah.
and if they're coachable, right, and marketable. But the other thing, his last fight, I think it was Haskell Rhodes. I was looking up the name earlier. He got cut in that fight, really nasty cut. And I remember when he sort of pawed it with his glove and then like licked his glove, and I'm like, oh, okay. No, he licked his blood. Is what it was. His blood was dripping down. He
Yeah.
licked it. And he said, "Let's go." That's what I like. I see. Like he saw red and he went after it. And this is my thing with him is, I don't know if I'm as high on his talent as you. Still early. We'll see. But he's an action fighter. To me, he's an action fighter. He still has flaws that I see, but that's fine. He's an action fighter. And we need that. We need those fighters. So his ceiling could be high. He could end up being multi-time world champion through several weight classes, all that stuff. That's fine. But to me, action fighter. You put this guy in with anybody, he's going to get after it. He's going to go after it, and he's gonna put his chin out there. He's going to try to knock you out. We'll see what his power is as he steps up in competition. But that's what I value in him is he wants to fight. He's one of those guys when he says he wants to fight, he's backing it up with action, and it's believable when you watch him go in there and fight because he's a fighter. That guy's a fighter. When he says I want Keyshawn Davis, when he says he wants JoJo Diaz, you believe him, right? Like, let's get this.
Mhm.
And now it's the exciting point when it's time to make that step, right? It's
It's
time to
just
make that
it's
step.
just
10, 12 rounders, JoJo Diaz, let's go.
yeah, I just think what could happen sometimes is this. So look, he definitely has developed a style that's going to put him in a lot of win-win situations. So if that means he goes
Mhm.
on and becomes a top pound for pound guy, then that's great, right? But he's going to do it while having a very exciting style. If
Yeah.
he doesn't end up being a pound for pound guy, like
Mhm.
we're still going to watch him because he's exciting to watch. He brings it, and I think that that's part of his character. That's how he fights. He has an exciting style, and I think sometimes even I do this. We kind of when a guy has an exciting style, we tend to pause and wonder if he's going to be a pound for pound guy.
Yeah.
And boxing fans tend to think of the boring fighters as being future pound for pound stars. But I don't know. I think that's a delay. Like, I don't know where that comes from, to be honest with you. Like, Floyd had a very exciting style when he became pound for pound. Like,
Mhm.
he later developed a very less engaging style, right? When he moved up against the bigger guys at welterweight. But still fought more in the pocket and people give him credit for it, but still. But I will say this moving forward. I mean, I think whatever path he goes to, I'm on. Like, I'm on that train. I've been on that train, and I think he's much watched television. I will say that.
Yeah, and I understand what people say. I think they need to be careful with this guy. I get that, but I think we need to be. I think we've been programmed to say stuff like that. If a guy says he's ready, let's see. Let's see it. Let's go. Let's see it. And
Good point.
and and let's start to get to the truth quicker. You know, we've talked about how Top Rank is good at that. They get to the truth quicker, and then if it looks like a fighter's not that type of guy, then they
I
sort
think
of
Oscar
cut
has that
ties.
same mentality
I
though.
think so too.
Like boxing needs to get back to the mama bird mentality,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Well, um, I remember when I interviewed Christian Martin, and she's a promoter, and I asked her about one of her fighters, and she said, "Yeah, you know what? He's been fighting some scrubs. It's time to step him up and see if he's a real deal or not." And I went, "Well, whoa, you're like the mama bird, huh? Just throwing the bird, see if he flies." She's like, "Yep, that's exactly it." Like like it's because
Let's
like
see if it can fly.
why to your point, why delay the inevitable,
No.
right? Boxing, like eventually the inevitable comes out. Like I honestly believe that. So let's get to it, right? We boxing fans stop talking like they're managers of these fighters, right?
Hmm.
And start talking about and start demanding these fights. Let's get these fights going. If Floyd Schofield goes in there and destroys Jojo Diaz, bro, we got a star in our hands, bro.
Yeah.
But if he goes out there and he has a fight of the year candidate against Jojo Diaz, right? Doesn't quite live up to what I'm expecting, we still win because we're getting a great fight out of it, right?
Yep.
If JoJo beats someone now JoJo's on the comeback. Like it is what it is, bro. We'll keep it moving over here.
Hmm.
You know, like that. So I agree with that. We need that mama bird mentality. You know, like yes, we keep in the nest for a little bit, right? But after a while, it's like, well, let's see if we can fly.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't fly. Well, it is what it is. Next bird. But if you fly, hey, it is what it is.
You don't fly, the cat devours you to death, but if you do, it's great. It's beautiful, right? You can see that big flourishing bird flying around. It's good. But I think we're at that point though. We're at that point to see, let's move from prospect to the contender stage, right? And then let's see what happens then. But I really believe, and I've talked about this disconnect that is somewhere in the pipeline from prospect to contender to champion, right? We're not breeding great champions anymore. So something is broken somewhere in that pipeline, right? It's either when they graduate from prospect to contender and then something there breaks, or when they get to champion and then they start saying things like Tiafimo, I need $100 million, and then they lack the fights. I really believe we're still building great prospects. We're still bringing in great prospects in America, but something breaks after that. Something breaks, and I think it starts with prospects aren't as, if you look at prospects 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't crazy to see a prospect fighting 10, 12 times a year at that point. So when you see a Floyd Schofield fighting 26 times in 3 years, 26 times in 36 months, you're like, okay, maybe this team gets it. And 2024, they're saying Jojo Diaz, Keyshawn Davis, let's go. Maybe
Yeah,
this team gets it a little bit.
development.
I don't need, like, once again, it's time to fly. I don't need people. I understand why they're saying it, but I don't need Floyd Schofield. He needs to brush up on things, right? I still don't think he's there. So let's,
Well, Calix,
come
I
on,
mean,
let's move. Let's move it,
look
right?
to your point, and I think it is something is broken because look, to me, the most skilled and naturally talented Mexican boxer of all time by a mile, in my opinion, is Salvador Sanchez, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not the most accomplished, but he did die at age 35. But by the age of 23, I'm sorry, by the age of 23, this guy had fought multiple Hall of Famers. He had
Yeah.
accomplished multiple things. He beat Wilfredo Gomez in a classic, till this day known as a classic Mexico versus Puerto Rico rivalry fight.
Yep.
Wilfredo Gomez was like mowing dudes, and they threw Salvador Sanchez in the ring with them. Little Red Lopez, before that fight, they called him Little Known versus Little Red because nobody knew who the hell Salvador Sanchez was. Azuma Nelson, tough fight. Stopped him late in that fight. Azuma Nelson went on to have a great career after that. But my point is this: you go to BoxRec and you look at his record. Salvador Sanchez had an early loss in his record.
Mm-hmm.
He got beat very early in his career. Navarrete got beat very early in his career. Juan Manuel Marquez lost his pro debut. Bernard Hopkins lost his pro debut. Like you just throw guys in there, and if they lose, they lose. And you know what they do? I don't know, Calix. In other sports, it's called going back to the drawing board and
Yeah.
improving, right? Learning from that experience, right? for some reason that's scoffed at now. For some reason, we're just expecting everybody to be undefeated. Nobody should have a loss, right? And that's why we have all these divisions with multiple guys that are undefeated because they're not fighting each other. Okay. So, like, we need to fix that. We need to have a different mentality, right? I think Floyd Schofield's ready. If someone else doesn't feel he's ready for JoJo, oh well. He wants to fight JoJo. Let's get it going. Like, that's it. It's either going to be a learning experience or it's going to look phenomenal. One or the other, but let's keep it moving. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Henry Armstrong. Thank you, Bruce. Lots of pro debut.
Yeah, another one. And sorry, sharing this show real quick. Another guy, you don't have to look as at Hall of Famers or all-time greats for an example of that. Look at Jermaine Taylor. He was at this point in his career when he became undisputed by beating the undisputed middleweight champion of Bernard Hopkins. It was 3 years in. They said, look, it's time. Around the same amount of fights, by the way. It's time. Let's see what this kid can do. I think at this point in time, people would have been saying, whoa, that's crazy. Put Jermaine Taylor in that early against all-time great number one middleweight. This is crazy. You can ruin his career. He's not ready. And then look what happens.
Yeah. Like eventually, like, I'm a firm believer in destiny. Either you're destined to do it or you're not. Mm-hmm. And I understand, like, a lot of this is just my intuition, right? Like, I just feel there's something about that kid that I noticed that caught my eye and said, who is that? He's only 18? Oh, I need to talk to that kid. Because he's going to be, like, I had an intuition he's going to be somebody, right? And right now, I'll admit a lot of it is intuition. I think he's going to be somebody, right? And I'm here for the ride. Like, I really am. And whether that means he's going to be an action fighter or pound for pound, I don't know, Calix, but I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something about him that like, I've never been bored watching Floyd Schofield fight, ever.
Me neither.
Ever. I never said, oh my God, it's boring, bro. Like, you know what I mean? He's knocking out his opponents, not the audience, bro.
It's not like a Richardson Hitchens fight. Which, by the way, I see they're gonna do Hitchens versus Catterall, and they're trying to. My God,
they're talking about a cure for insomnia. Down, they're doing a root canal on you, right? While doing surgery on your eye. That's basically what's happening with that fight. Okay, let me just tell you that right now. Okay, and I'm glad you brought up Catterall, because you know how it is. Like people are like, oh, why you only say that about certain fighters, huh? I never heard you say anything about Catterall. Like, what do you mean? We say it all the time. We say it all the time. Just to say this, Floyd Schofield puts his opponents to sleep, not the crowd to sleep. He's worked his way up, the rankings. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I want that JoJo fight. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that first quarter. Let's do that next. They both won it. Let's do it. Who are we to stop that from happening as boxing fans? Speak out as boxing fans. Who the hell wouldn't want to watch that fight?
Yeah, right, and now? By the way, Chicano probably is bringing up Canelo. In fairness, Canelo was already a star in Mexico, right? When I noticed him. But I mean, so maybe this one was obvious, but I noticed very early on. This was before he made his debut on U.S. television. I noticed very early on that he was going to beat somebody. Now, granted, did I know like, oh, that guy's going to be a future pound for pound, 4 division champion and like undisputed 168? No, I didn't know that. I just knew he was going to be somebody. Like, he was going to be someone relevant in the sport of boxing. And
how I knew Canelo was going to be a star is, and just quick side note before we get into another topic, is I went to the theater to watch Sergio Mora versus Shane Mosley, which was a terrible fight, by the way, one of the worst fights I've ever seen. And Canelo was on that undercard. I don't know if he was a co-main or something, but he was fighting Carlos Baldemir. And when he was doing the ring entrance, I was there with my cousin who was female. And she saw Canelo. She said, "Oh, who is that?" And I knew it at that moment because he knocks out Baldemir.
A lot of dudes' wives say that too, bro. That's why they hate Canelo, bro.
And that's how I knew he had that golden boy vibe to him, right? That the girls are gonna fawn over this dude, and then he could possibly be a
I like
killer.
how Calix said his cousin said it. It's a female cousin. I didn't say it. She said it. I just co-signed. No, but yeah.
I didn't co-sign anything. I didn't co-sign anything.
Look, I'm just saying.
But another quick talking before
Canelo and not Baltimore, right?
Yeah, she went for Canelo. Good choice, by the way. Very good choice. Andy Ruiz, because I want to talk. We need to talk a lot about Ryan Garcia and this whole 4-day, 5-day event that happened. Just there's a lot going on with that. But before Andy Ruiz has been pulled out of the rankings by the WBC, what's your initial reaction to that? The WBC is just all over the place, right? That's my initial reaction to it. But
well, Andy Ruiz should just tell him he's depressed. That he's going through depression, and right? Isn't that all you do? Right. He's a former champion, and he is depressed, and we stand by our contenders through better or for worse. Does that just apply to champions, not the contenders, right? Like, fuck the contenders. You know what I mean? Mauricio only cares about kids that are bit by dogs and champions.
Yeah.
Champions that bring him money. That's it. Right?
That's it.
Look, while it was, first of all, they took way too long to get him out the rankings, but they finally did it, thank God. Right? Andy Ruiz has been a mess since he won the heavyweight championship of the world, bro. Yeah. A total mess. This guy was photoshopping photos of himself looking thin, going into the rematch with AJ, knowing you're going to step on the scale and you're going to step in the ring without a shirt on. We're going to see you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying,
this dude got a tattoo on his butt. Both cheeks. And how do I know this? Because he shared it.
Portions of his butt crack tattooed by another man. They have to spread his butt cheeks in order to tattoo the guy. That's the type of tattoo he got. Okay. Now, I didn't analyze that. Okay. Shout out to Nika and Christine. They analyzed that and told me, right, about where the ink was and all that. But with that said, okay. With that said, we're just throwing people under the bus today. Like, Cal's threw his cousin under the bus. I'm throwing Christine and Nika under the bus. I don't give a shit. Okay. But here's the thing. He lets go of his trainer that he won the heavyweight championship of the world with, that he had good chemistry with, right? After he lost and he didn't properly prepare. He goes with Reynoso because that was a thing to do, because it was with Canelo or whatever. And then he leaves Reynoso, and that little bit shows me a lot about him. You know what I mean? It really does. And it's a shame that he's ended up where he's ended up. He needs to understand that the paydays you got against AJ was an opportunity you got because Miller tested positive for PDs. They needed an opponent. To your credit, you stepped up and you took the fight. But that type of money, okay, was for the heavyweight championship of the world against the biggest star at the time, Anthony Joshua, right? You cannot be expecting that moving forward. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, the guy is delusional, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, when you hear him talk and he's like, well, look, they want to offer me this, but when you win, you go higher. You go higher. You got to get paid more. Like, well, that's not how it works, Andy. Right? Like, that just isn't how it works. What do you draw? What money do you bring in? And what's the relevance of the fight? That's what matters. And the reality is, you didn't sell on your pay-per-view fight on Fox. It flopped. So no, you're not worth what you think you're worth. Right? That's not your market value. You're over valuing yourself, okay, above market value. So it's making it more difficult to make fights for you, okay? I am sorry. The rumors that he wanted $10 million to fight Wilder is true. That's ridiculous, bro. Like that's stupid. Usyk made $6 million as a headliner in Poland, but you're gonna get $10 million to be a B-side? Like, and then they still gotta pay Wilder. What are we doing, bro? Andy's problem is this. Andy Ruiz, the Andy Ruiz that won the heavyweight championship of the world, got eaten by Andy Ruiz, right? And showed up in the rematch. Okay, that's what happened, right? And he hasn't been the same ever since, bro. I'm sorry you struggled against Ariola. It is an old Ariola. I'm sorry. You won the Ortiz fight, but that pay-per-view flopped. In what world do you think you're worth all this money, bro? Like, get back in the ring, get active again. Be grateful for the big paydays you got. I'm happy you got these big paydays with AJ, but you can't expect that moving forward, bro. I'm just saying.
I want people to understand how bad this downfall is, though, because I remember when he beat Anthony Joshua. And I'm not saying this to say you were wrong. I'm just saying this to point out his potential. Is I remember you saying he can be bigger than Canelo in Mexico. And the reason you were saying that is makes sense. He's a heavyweight and he's Mexican. And if he
Oh,
could
not
continue
to
that
cut you
on,
off, but like really quick. This guy won the heavyweight championship of the world. And immediately the president of Mexico called them to whatever they call, I don't know what they call it, the president, the White House of Mexico, right? Where the president resides, to go talk to him, to have a meeting with him, bro. This was a big deal. Yeah, Chavez talking about this, about how like yeah, this is the one division where like we didn't have a heavyweight champion that was a Mexican descent, right? It was a big deal. It really was, and immediately the downfall occurred. It's sad what happened, bro.
if you ever see an example of thwarting momentum, that's it. This guy's on the Joe Rogan show.
He
Great
ate
story.
his momentum.
But I mean, you're talking about
He
a
ate it.
guy who you talk about marketable. He's the heavyweight champion. He's Mexican. He beats Anthony Joshua, who's one of the biggest fighters in the world, to do it. And on top of that, he's a relatable guy. Like he's just talking about slamming back beers and eating tacos or whatever. And it's relatable. His story is relatable. Everybody likes him at that point, and then he gets out of shape, loses, and then it kind of disappears. It just never got anywhere close to where the destination was supposed to go. But I just bring that up to say this is that's the potential we had at the time with this guy, and then you fast forward all these years, and he's out the rankings. WBC's pulling him because he's just not doing anything. So that's sad. It's just another example of what they talk about in the Bronx Tale: wasted talent, just talent wasted. It's the saddest thing in the world. I also want to bring this up because this happened last week. Is Devin Haney, and I think we talked about this kind of. Maybe we didn't. I don't remember. But Devin Haney vacated the belts. The belts are going to become vacant in a vacuum. Yada yada. But Tank's response to, I believe, the WBA was keep the belts. I don't want that. That's what he said on Twitter. Do you believe him when he says that? Because I think there's a classic case of the Tank Davis theorem in that he's going to say he doesn't want the belts. He said he's going to say he doesn't care. Personally, he may not, right? But his team is going to get together, I believe, and they're going to elevate him. They're going to gladly accept the belt, and then they're going to face the number one contender in a rematch, I think, Isaac Cruz, for the real belt, to defend the real belt. That's what I think is going to happen. Do you believe him when he says, no, keep the belt, and he's not going to fight for it?
Actually, I'll be honest with you, bro. I'm actually not sure. I would usually agree with the notion he's just full of shit, but here's the thing. These sanctioning bodies, in general, charge about 3%, a 3% sanctioning fee. Although it could be renegotiated and all that. I get all that, but nonetheless, by a general rule, it's 3%. And they all, when they're asked, especially Suleiman or any of them are asked, in this case, the WBA, why do the fighters have to pay for this? Like, why do they have to pay 3%? Well, because of the belt, they're making more money. Because of the belt, it brings more attention to the sport and to their fights, and they make more money because they're champions. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think Tank's proven that he don't need their asses to make money. Mm-hmm. Like, this is something new that we're looking at. We're in an age right now where guys are making more money than the champions, right? Mm-hmm. Aside from Canelo, who is a champ, but Canelo values the belts, though. He just put a story out. What do I want for Christmas? I want another belt. Like, so he values the belts, Canelo does. But Tank doesn't appear to value the belt. But what I would say is the following. I would say this. Look, If it depends on the messaging. If you want to say I don't want the belt because I haven't earned it, I want to be the champion for it. Right. I wasn't trying to make the divinity fight to begin with. So let me fight somebody for it. Like if you want to say that, which we both know that's not what he's saying, right? Then that's one thing. But what he's saying is I don't want that shit. I don't need that shit. Very similarly, by the way, like his mentor Floyd Mayweather did going into the Shane Mosley fight. He said, I ain't fighting for the belt. I ain't paying no sanctioning fee for that belt. Right? That's the first time I remember anyway a fighter saying that. A fighter saying, I ain't paying a sanction fee for that shit. I'm gonna beat you, but I don't need your fucking belt. Right? The WBA actually stripped Mosley of the belt after he lost, by the way, but Mayweather did not win it. So we've seen it before although that's a little bit a different circumstance. But in this case, he may very well just say, nah, I'm good. I don't want to pay you 3% or negotiate with you to pay you any amount, quite frankly, because the reason you're giving all these other fighters as to why they should be paying the sanctioning fees, I don't need you for that. So I'm not going to pay you shit. I could totally see that happening, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're at a cusp of things branching off in a way, right? And the future's looking a little hazy as to how boxing, the structure is going to look in the future. He may be going a different route, bro. It may just happen. However, is it possible that they may say, you know what? Let's just take the belt. Let's just take the WBA super belt or whatever, and let's fight Isaac Cruz and be one of the champions. They may do that as well. I'm just not sure.
You just reminded me of something, by the way, that I haven't talked about. And before I get to that, I want to say this about Tank. I don't need him to fight for the belts as long as he does fight the fights. You know, if he goes out and says, no, look, I'm gonna fight Shakur and I don't want the belts, he can fight for his belt. I don't need to fight for that. You can keep the WA. That's fine as long as he's fighting the fight. But when I bring up the Tank Davis theorem, I think they say they don't care about the belts because they don't want to be a target. Right? Like they don't want to have that target on their back that a Canelo has at 168, a Devin Haney had at 135, right? When you fight for real belts and you say, I'm the guy, and then you have mandatories, right? You have guys underneath you in the rankings and then you're seen as the guy, then yeah. But what I don't like is them calling themselves the guy. And if you're not going to fight for the belts, it's fine. At least fight the fights, but at least don't call yourself a 3-division champion. This is the problem everybody has, right? Is you're calling yourself a 3-division champion. Floyd's out there saying we have too many belts, and his main fighter has fake belts. And his main fighter has a designation that Floyd is calling out that saying that shouldn't exist. It's the inconsistencies there. What we want to see is, I want to see a clear and concise move from Tank to say, I'm going to fight the fights. Look, I don't care about the belts. It's fine. If he says that, I don't care about the belts. Yeah, okay, you're Tank, whatever. But fight the fights. That's all I need to see. Fight the fights. Belts, no belts, just fight the fights. Good Lord, just fight the fights. That's number one. Number two, the WBA came out over the weekend and said they're going to do this super cruiserweight division between 200, 220, 224. It mirrors the Bridgerweight division, except they're just calling it something different. And I got to give them a little credit. At least they didn't hide behind a kid that got eaten by a dog.
Don't attack the child. Don't do that.
I'm not attacking the child. I'm attacking the dudes that named the division after the child that got eaten by the dog. Look, don't name the division.
HCP PR about this.
Don't name your division after a kid that got eaten by a dog because
he named it in honor of a child that protected his little sister. His poor little sister was getting attacked by a rabid dog, right? I believe it was a pit bull. And he went there and he fought this pit bull to save his sister's life. His face got deformed because of the dog attack. And I think if there's one thing that Mauricio did that I could say, you know what, that's nice, was that.
Look, please don't tell me you're okay with this division up there, this 18th division between 220.
Actually, I'm not. But
thank you.
But I think it's a nice thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, but please don't tell me you're okay with the WBA doing this too. Like, to me, this is where this is headed. It's like, okay, the WBC did it now. WBA's doing it now. They're going after BoxRec for calling the guys that are at Bridgerweight heavyweights. To me, it seems like they're starting to get on the same page that, hey, look,
Well,
WBC did
that's
it, so
another
let's all create
sanctioning
a
fee,
division
bro.
here and get another sanctioning fee.
Yeah.
They're finally headed in the right damn direction by saying, look, no secondary belts. All right. But then they just create an 18th weight class. It's like, dude, it's the same thing I
Yo,
was saying with Ryan when they said this catch weight at 143. It's like, dude, you got 17 weight classes to choose from. How can you dudes not land on a weight class? You got 17 to choose from. And now they're gonna give it 18th? And dudes are still fighting at catch weights? What
I'm
the
gonna
hell
say
is going
something you're
on?
not gonna agree with. I'm gonna say something you're not gonna agree with, but I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
stand my square. Um,
Uh-oh.
they should have done Bridgerweight around 185 or something like that. Instead, like between we need a weight class between 175 and
No,
200.
we
We do.
no, we don't. No, we
We
don't.
100% do.
These nobody even pays attention to cruiserweight in America.
In America, but what about the world?
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Ukraine love, like they have a legend at cruiserweight. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like not everything. Like America doesn't pay attention to flyweight, or should we get rid of flyweight? Like, what does that even mean? All I'm saying is we need a weight class between that. They should
No,
have
we
left
don't.
heavyweight alone. That's what
We
I'm
do
saying.
not need another weight class. Look,
It would be
if you
beautiful.
want to
Look at all the
maneuver
legends UFC has at 185. There's athletes around that size. I'm saying
maneuver the weight classes around or something. Like just make light
that's
heavyweight
fair.
like 180 or something. But 18th weight class, if anything, we need to be having less weight classes.
I
And
do
now we're
agree
gonna have
with that.
another
Look,
one.
look, look. I do agree with restructuring, but that's so difficult to do because there's so much movement you would have to do, right? You would have to give like a 3-year notice or something
Mhm.
ahead of time to announce to fighters that these divisions are going to be moving. It's a lot of drastic movement, but I do agree that they have to restructure all of that for sure.
Yeah. Um, so let's just segue into the topic I'm sure a lot of people want to talk about, and that's
Shout out to Bridger Walker, by the way. He's a hero, bro.
all right, yeah, he
What do
is
you
a
mean?
hero, but he shouldn't have a weight class named after him. Give him like an honorary belt. They give those away all the time, right? Just give him a belt. You name a weight class after the
You know
kid.
what would have been nice about his show? Like just pay for his vacation with his family to Disney World or something.
Yeah, and medical bills and stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah, how about
he.
his medical bills, buddy? Sure, you take care of those, or
But anyway, Ryan Garcia. So where do we start? Let's start at the press conference before the weigh-in, and let's just take it day by day. The press conference was good. Lord, that was a disaster. And people are saying this is scripted. I don't think that was scripted at all. I think this is just a train wreck. Ryan's out there. Well, Bernard Hopkins says something to Ryan, and it's obvious he's talking about Ryan. He looks directly at Ryan while he's saying it. And then Ryan comes back and starts firing back. And then Oscar's right behind him. And Oscar's just like, and he's just like, Oscar's back there having an aneurysm. But this split that they have, it seemed like they were getting it together. And then now it's just out there again. And this team seems to be like the opposite of Tank's team. Like if you watch Tank and Floyd and Leonard, they'll start
John
taking
Code.
shots at each other, right? But when the fight gets closer, they get locked in. They're all
Mhm.
locked in when the fight gets closer. This is the opposite of that. As the fight happens, before the fight, after the fight week just becomes a mess with these guys. It's clear that there are two different camps. There's Ryan Garcia's internal camp, and then Golden Boy is the macro level of that. And the micro and the macro are not on the same page. So I don't know how
No.
long they can keep this going.
It's like water and oil, right? They're not mixing, bro. Just
Mm.
like the oil's just floating around, bro. It's just floated to the top, like or down actually. It's heavier than water. But here's the thing. Um, my God, bro. First of all, I honestly do believe that B Hop was trying to really sell this fight, like because the reason I'm saying that really Duarte is the guy you pick to like tell Ryan like yeah the truth will find you in the ring, like that's the
Yeah.
dude that's the dude you picked to sit to like I think he was doing that to kind of like make people question is Ryan all there? Does he have mental issues going on? Is he ready for a tough dude like Duarte? Is he so like that's what I honestly believe, right? And I think Ryan, for whatever reason, and this is a new generation thing, Alex. I see this a lot with, like, at where I work. A lot of the young kids think this way, and for whatever reason, it's someone's always out to get them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, someone's always, like, if they don't get constant affirmation, if they hear, so like in Ryan's case, like a little bit of credit being given to Duarte to sell the fight, by the way, right? That's a promoter's
Yeah.
job. Like, yeah, Duarte, he's dangerous. He could win this fight. And Ryan's mind, oh, you want him to win? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, dude, like, you don't you understand what's happening here, Ryan? Like, they need to sell the fight, bro. They're not gonna go on stage and be like, yeah, this is a tune-up for Ryan to make him look good, and a confidence booster for him coming off the devastating loss to Tank Davis. This is what this is all about. They're not gonna come out and say that, bro. You know what I mean? They're gonna say he's dangerous. They're gonna say he's a big puncher. He could win this fight. You got to tune in, because if you pass the flying cutters, it makes you look good, right? Bro, I got to defend Oscar here. I don't think Oscar's doing anything wrong in the situation. I just don't. Like, I think Ryan is like acting like a little kid. I do.
Yeah.
I think Ryan is out of the hand here. I honestly feel that way. Oscar's being nothing but nice to him. He had nothing to do with what B-Hop said. And he goes in there, he starts throwing shots at his promoter, and the whole time not looking at him. And I don't know, the whole thing was bizarre to me. And he does this thing, Ryan, where like he's very passive aggressive. He'll really show how much he appreciates James, his trainer, right, in front of his promoter, right? And he's kind of doing it to be like, yeah, him, he takes care of me, he cares about me. If I want advice about my career, I'm going to talk to my trainer, I'm going to talk to my team, I'm not going to talk to him. And it's just crazy to me because you're talking this way to your promoter, bro, right? Where was James when no one knew who the fuck you were? And you were just an up-and-coming dude, and Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy signed you on and started promoting your fights. And then he starts shitting on his own career. Like, I really didn't have a test until I fought Tank, really. Like, remember Luke Campbell put you on your ass, bro? Remember, that was a tough fight, bro. Like, you're taking away credit from yourself, by the way, just to shit on your promoter. Because what that is, that's an indirect shot at Golden Boy. Like, they never really put me in any tough fights. Blah, blah, blah. But then he contradicts himself when he says, oh, yeah, they wanted me to lose to Duno. They thought Duno was going to beat me. They thought Duarte was going to beat me. Like, you're giving mixed signals here. You don't really know what you're thinking, right? Dude, come on. And then remember how he was acting after the fight with Tank? Oh, Tank's team. They took care of me, and they didn't take care of you, bro. They put you in a catch weight.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to say you're a hell of a fighter after Tank beat you. So what? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But I agree with you. That show is a train wreck.
I got a lot to say on that part of it, but I'll save that for the end because there were some more comments that he said after the fight that we need to highlight. And it's just a lot of red flags. But let's get to the catch weight because weigh-in gets here and everybody's like 142.8, 143. What is this? Where did this catch weight come from? So there's arguments. It was in the contract from the beginning. Oscar is saying it's a red flag. Oscar himself is saying it's a red flag. We need him to fight at 140. And at this point in his career, Ryan, he hasn't fought at lightweight since beginning of 2021. So we're at 3 years now. He hasn't fought at lightweight. Hasn't fought a 140 pounder yet. He's fought at 140 pounds, but this is his third fight. So he fights at the catch weight against Tank, not an official lightweight fight, but the 2 fights before that, he's fighting at 140 against 135 pounder. So then this fight, he's bringing up another 135 pounder and at 143. So yes, red flag. But when I pointed this out the other day, and Dougie's like, yeah, we need to pull this guy from the Ring Magazine rankings. And I've been waiting for that for a while because he's sitting there in big publication top 5 lightweight rankings, and he's not a lightweight. He hasn't been a lightweight for 3 years now. So I think people are getting the point of where we're at with Ryan right now is once again, and I brought this up. This is Ryan is almost the extension of the Tank Davis theorem, and one of the points of that is you don't campaign in a single weight class. That way, it makes you a tougher target, right? And you're seeing this myriad of fighters now, right? It's becoming this cool and in thing to Devin Haney saying, "I want to move up to 147 and fight." Well, how about you do something at 140 first? You haven't even fought at 140, and you're already talking about moving to 147 to face Mario Barrios. And then Ryan's doing it here. He's talking about moving up to 147 eventually, and he hasn't even fought a 140 pounder yet. Right? He hasn't even fought a 140 pounder yet, and he's talking about moving to 140. Even Raleigh Romero, they're asking him about Ryan. He's like, I'd rather move up to 147. It's like, good Lord, can you dudes pick a weight class? There's 17 of them. 18 if you ask WBC, WBA. Can you pick one and fight fighters in that weight class and try to do something in the weight class? But these dudes are daring to be great and trying to do things. And for the love of God, can we stop the catch weights? And by the way, this is across the board. You have said this for years. I don't like catch weights. I don't like them either. I've caught up to you on this. I don't want the catch weights anymore. Pick a damn weight class. And by the way, if Canelo fights Benavidez next year, which we're expecting, right, and he slaps a rehydration clause on Benavidez, guess who the first two people to call that out will be? Me and you. We're consistent on this. For the love of God, stop with the catch weights. Pick a damn weight class and campaign there for a little while. Like it's much easier. It's much easier for Devin Haney to move up to 147 and fight Mario Barrios than to defend or unify against a Matias. Come on.
Yeah, look. Just a really quick point. There's already people, and I know why you guys are saying this, calling David Benavidez a weight bully. I know what you're doing. I know the seeds you're planning. Let me tell you something. If it's a 168-pound fight and the belts are on the line, I don't want a rehydration clause. As long as David Benavidez can make the weight, it is what it is. We are in a day before weigh-in era. All right. If you want to have a conversation about whether we should have day before weigh-ins or not, that's a different conversation altogether. Yeah. Right. But I'm not going to change the rules and do a rehydration clause just because I'm a Canelo fan. I want to Canelo's the A side. We don't do that over here. I have stances I have on things, right? And I don't change them for any fighter. And I've been consistent for years. And God damn, it feels good to be consistent. It feels really good that I don't have to act a certain way because I don't want to piss Calix off. Calix might get mad about something I say, or B might say and change everything I'm about just to try to fit in somewhere. No, like me, I'm a consistent dude, and I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't have a problem giving you the scenarios. If Canelo puts a rehydration clause, which I do not believe he will do against Benavidez, I don't believe he'll do it. I just don't. Yeah. Okay? If he were to do it, yes, I would criticize Canelo for doing so.
Yeah. We're not Tank Davis fans over here, so we're not going to do that. Let's get to the actual fight. I thought Ryan looked sharp first 4 rounds for the most part. And then rounds 5 through 7, you started to see Duarte getting a rhythm, right? And they obviously did their homework. Is body. Stay close, body. And I didn't like what I saw from Ryan in rounds 5 through 7. I had people texting me during the fight. Shout out our guy Chauncey Pearls. He's saying, I don't remember a fighter winning by stoppage and not looking that bad. That was his words to me. Right. I don't know if I go that far, but there are clearly some red flags with Ryan Garcia here to the body. Like no fighter likes it to the body, right? But he got very lateral in his movement as Duarte is trying to hunt him down. I thought this was an easy fight to score. I had Ryan up 4 rounds to 0, and then I had Duarte making it 4 rounds to 3 after 7. Duarte started to get in his rhythm, and I felt like Ryan allowed that by allowing Duarte to come forward, dig into the body. And it was too much lateral movement and pot shotting. And to me, that's not boxing. You see people talk about that with Erislandy Lara, right? The people who argue that Lara beat Canelo, which I think is outrageous. But their argument is that was real boxing. It's not real boxing if you're fighting that negative, if you're constantly moving. And when you do make a fighter miss, you're not making them pay. And I feel like this was Ryan in rounds 5 through 7 in particular. It was just, I did not how he looked in rounds 5 through 7.
So I agree with what you're saying. However, I think what he was doing before the running was worse. But I just want to put that out there.
What's that?
He was giving his back, bro.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck is that? Like, look, all right. I don't know where to start with this, but I'll have to start somewhere. Look, so Ryan Garcia, all right. I don't know if you guys know, you're not supposed to give your back to your opponent, right? You're not supposed to do that. A ref can actually stop the fight. That is a sign of resignation if you do that, bro. Right? Doesn't generally happen. Usually you get a warning or whatever, right? Or happens so fast or whatever. But Ryan Garcia was literally giving his back, and you had the commentary team calling it a shoulder roll. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing here? Duarte hits him. He goes for a body shot. This guy turns around. He does this shit. Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing this, Ryan. Right. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the punch landed in the kidney. I understand that, but Duarte is facing Ryan. If you turn your body to where your kidney is where your navel should be, that's your fault, dude. He would throw overhand rights, and this idiot, this dude, I'm sorry, will turn around, give nothing but the back of his head. That's what he would do. Not roll the shot, not block the shot, not move out of the way. Turn his head, and he would get hit in the back of the head, and the ref is warning Duarte. Ref, those are not rabbit punches. That's a perfectly legal overhand right, and Ryan turned his head into it. And it's happening repeatedly, and he's scolding Duarte. Like, what do you mean? Like, tell this dude to stop. Do this, ref. Like, do that instead, bro. Don't hit him in the kid. Don't hit him in the back of the head. I'm just like, Duarte, they're not in the clinch, and Duarte's like hitting him in the back of the head or something, or you know what I mean, like turning Ryan and getting him in the kidney. Okay, a kidney shot usually goes this way, okay, because you're on the inside, right, and the opponent steps inside and goes to the kidney, right, or it kind of loops it to the back of your body. That's an illegal kidney shot. Rabbit punches, you're in the clinch or something, you start hitting them this way in the back of the head, or you're shoulder to shoulder, and you start targeting the back of the head this way. Those are illegal shots. Duarte was throwing a perfectly legal overhand right towards Ryan. Ryan will turn around, right, and the punch will land where it lands, and then he's warning Duarte about it. So basically, very bad technique by Ryan. I think he was feeling the pressure, quite frankly. And then the ref bails him out because the ref allows it. The ref made it effective. He made it effective because Ryan gave him no scoring zone, right? And he's warning him about everything. So what do you want a fighter to do if he does that? You know a fight that reminds me of this a little bit, although it wasn't this bad, but remember Durrell versus Frotch?
Yeah.
Durrell was bending below the waist, all the way down, right? Giving Frotch nowhere to hit him, so Frotch started hitting him in the back, right? And Durrell's crying about it. It's like, bro, you're creating your own foul, bro. That's what you're doing, right? So this is another example of a referee not applying the rules of boxing, right? And allowing a fighter, in this case, the A-side fighter, right, to get away with it, right? He made that disgusting display of a shoulder roll effective, essentially by warning Duarte every time he hit him in the kidney or the back of the head, and never warned Ryan for turning his whole body. And then to make matters worse, as you mentioned, he starts running around the ring, being extremely negative, stalling the action in the process, right? And then, yes, he did get the knockout, but I think what happened here, I think we all know Ryan has real power. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
Ryan has the ability to end a fight at any point,
Hmm.
especially against an opponent at Duarte's level, and that's why he won that fight. But that fight to me, Carlos, was a lot closer than the
Yeah.
commentary team had it. Shame on look, bro, Porter. I don't even know why they have Porter, bro. I don't listen to Porter say, "My God, this guy's amazing in commentary." For all these guys to be hiring him, he says ignorant things, bro. Like you don't want to do the shoulder roll. I mean, unless you're Mayweather, and unless Mayweather teaches you the shoulder roll, you shouldn't do it. Nobody taught, like the Mayweathers didn't teach James Toney the shoulder roll.
Mm-mm.
Like what are we doing? Like that Philly shell stance and rolling with the shots was not invented by the Mayweathers. It's just not something you should say. Like Mayweather doesn't need to teach it to you. You got to get someone competent to teach it to you, but it's a different story. But with that said, terrible performance by Ryan, but good result though. He did get that. He proved he still has that knockout power, right?
Yeah.
And maybe if he let, I feel this is a case of when when he just stopped overthinking it and just started letting his hands go like he usually did before he got the win. He probably gets the win sooner. He just let his hands go earlier. I mean, saying.
I think there's a lack of trust in himself, if we're being honest, in the ring. So, and that's what I was about to get to is I like the result. Let's talk about the positives first. It wasn't on pay-per-view, so that's good. Number two is he gets the result that he wanted. And he got a better result than a lot of people predicted, right? There were people, it became fashionable to pick Duarte for an upset. And then a lot of people were saying, oh, he's going to get a decision. It's going to be a tougher fight. He ends up getting the stoppage. So a better result than people expected. But I think his path to get there is what's worrying to me because not surprising that he beats a Duarte. It's how negative he had to be to get it. How frustrated Duarte had to get in order to leave himself open to where Ryan could counter him with something coming in and then stop him, right? And by the way, fighters need to stop doing this thing because they're not fooling anybody. This might have fooled people like the first couple times that happened. When fighters get up at 9.5 and then go, oh my God, why'd you stop the fight? It's like, we know what you were doing when you get up at 9.5, right? We all know what you're doing. We all know that you're going to get up at 9.5, hope they stop the fight, then politic, right? So he was looking for an out there. So you got to give Ryan Garcia credit for that stoppage power that he still has, but it's the placement, the punch placement. We talk about the top fighters in the world, all the top pound for pound fighters in the world. The special ones, we talk about this. What do they have in common? Crawford, Inoue, Usyk, Canelo, like those four special ones. What do they have have in common? It's punch placement. You ask any fighter, those fighters have top shelf elite all-time punch placement. Ryan does not have that, not even close. I remember Tank talking about this and pointing this out after the fight is his feet were all over the place. He's never in position. His positioning is off. And that's the difference between him and me is we both have power, but my positioning is always there. I'm always locked in to throw that power shot. And Ryan is just all over the place, fidgety. He's fidgety. He's too lateral in his movement. He's just all over the place. His chin is in the air when he's throwing the shot, and the top elite fighters out there they're gonna see that stuff. They're gonna take advantage of it.
Look, his trainer's being interviewed. Like, what's the game plan here? Like, when he was doing his retarded version of the shoulder roll or whatever, and he literally said, "I don't know. Like, we didn't work on it."
Yeah,
it's like I want him to box from the outside. This is crazy, bro. And what's frustrating to me, it was only effective because the ref made it effective, essentially by practically telling his opponent, Duarte in this case, I'm going to disqualify. I'm going to take away points from you if you keep hitting him where he's putting his body. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Fighters should be punished when they do stuff like what Ryan was doing.
Yeah.
So like you get hit in the kidney, you look at the ref should say, "Hey, you're turning your whole body, bro. What do you want me to do? Get in the back of the head because you turned your head around." It is what it is. I was talking to Beeb the other day, and he pointed out like when Andrade was bending below the waist and Benavidez hit him behind the head, like the ref
Fair
told him,
game.
"Hey, you're creating your own foul."
Yeah.
Right? You create your own foul. You don't reward those guys by warning the guy that's doing nothing wrong. What you do is you throw them off, bro. Like it's kind of concerning to me that Duarte had to be taken off his game a little bit with the warnings from the ref, right? In order for Ryan to finally find some openings.
Yeah.
It is very like you got to wonder like where his head's at. So.
Yeah. So, and I want to give like my overall assessment because I pinned it on Twitter, and this is no disrespect to like any of them because I've pointed out the positives of Ryan. Didn't fight on pay-per-view. I'm starting to think it's obvious he wants to be in big fights, right? He made the Tank fight. I do believe when he calls out certain fighters, eventually he wants those fights. He wants to be in those fights. But I'm starting to think he's doing that for the wrong reasons. And I'll talk about that more in depth later. I think it's strictly money plays and not so much actually wanting to get in those fights and win those fights. Who knows? But my assessment overall is Ryan Garcia is Victor Ortiz 2.0. You and I have talked about this, and it's no disrespect to Victor Ortiz because he had a fun career, right? Explosive enough to put guys like Duarte away, not skilled, focused enough to beat top tier fighters, way too flawed. It's going to be what it's going to be. He'll beat Raleigh because Raleigh sucks, likely plucks off a low hanging belt at some point, but really bad losses are in his future. You can see it from a mile away. He'll have his fair share of opportunities due to popularity, but red flags are all over the place. And to me, those red flags are it's the thin skin stuff. Like to me, if there's a fighter out there that really is a microcosm of this generation that you were talking about earlier as a whole, about 15 minutes ago, you talked about this generation, right? Entitled, graduating for college and think they're entitled to a 6-figure payday, something like that. I think Ryan's that type of guy. I think anytime anybody comes at Ryan just the least bit critical, he's one of those fighters that's going to take exception to it and the world's going to have to hear about it. Sean Porter, he's lashing out at him. He's lashing out at the commentators. He's lashed out. I've heard this from people, by the way, that certain people cannot access Ryan anymore because of some critical articles they've had of him. And it's just least bit critical. It's not hate or anything. It's not hate. It's not rooted in hate. And then when you see the trainers he's gone through, throwing people under the bus, at a certain point, and look, we've all encountered people like this. It's if you're around a bunch of people and then all of a sudden a couple of years later, you're not surrounded by these people anymore. The people who have your best interests at heart, who are willing to just tell you things that you need to hear. And it's you alone at some point. And it's you at that point. You have to look in the mirror. You're the common denominator here. It's not them. It's you. And I have that sense about Ryan that anytime anybody makes any kind of criticism of him at all, it's him. He's going to go out after those people, and it's not going to be allowed by him. And even his own promoters at this point, Bernard, Oscar, commentators, trainers, all of them. You have people out there. I've heard of them. Over a handful of people at this point who said, I can't deal with this guy anymore. It's just not, I can't do it anymore. So I think there's a thin skin there. I think there's a clear track record at this point to where we can put this together and say there are red flags there. And I'm not so sure that this guy will get into the gym on a Monday after a fight like a Canelo Alvarez and work on the things that he needs to be working on. I'm not even so sure that this guy is going to get in there in the gym every day in an 8-week training camp with a single trainer and work on the things he needs to work on in order to be a great fighter. But there's flash there. Not so much substance, but flash there to where he's going to get the TikTok audience in there. You have that element of YouTube star with him to where he's going to be in big fights, but he's going to fall flat on those big fights because he's not skilled and focused enough to win those fights. But he'll pluck off some of those belts that are opportunistic for him, right? And win a fight like that. And he may even win against a good fighter at some point, but to me, it's just not there.
Look, I am wondering where his head's at, because if you listen to the post-fight press conference, he's well, there's nothing wrong with being religious, but every 2 seconds, oh Jesus, oh
Yeah.
Jesus, oh I gotta thank Jesus. Jesus made me realize the way I was being. Oh, Jesus made me realize the people, like looking over at Oscar, he says that were being negative in my life. Like, I'm just like, I don't know if Jesus wants you to be scolding people, like you know what I mean. I just think
Like
we get it.
Oscar's Judas over there.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean. Like, okay, we get it. I understand. I do. Okay, cool. But he was talking in a post fight like he just won the world title. Like this for the first time I felt focused. I wasn't really focused for the tank fight, to be honest with you, but this time I felt in the zone. Like, I don't know, man. When you went with Goosen, you couldn't stop talking about how Goosen has you in the zone, like and Reynoso didn't, and you were doing it to throw passive aggressive shots towards Reynoso, bro. Right?
Mhm.
And to Canelo, who called you out basically for not being a hard worker in the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, why would Canelo just randomly lie about that? You know what I mean?
That's another person. I mean,
So like all I know, man, is this Jesus. Okay, cool, I get it, right? Oh, God, oh God, or like, I just want to thank God. Or, all I know is that God's got my back, God's got this, God's got that. And my own promoters want me to lose, but God's got me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look, bro, all right. At the end of the day, keep him away from Matias, because my God, you're going to be praying in the middle of that ring when that happens, right? Right? Like I'm just saying, and I don't really mean that. Like, if they do the fight with Matias, they do it, but they're not going to do it.
no.
It's going to be the Raleigh fight. That's where he's going.
That's the destination now, right? Is Raleigh, and we saw that coming from a mile away, and Raleigh couldn't even keep his head. O'Hara Davies, Ishmael Barroso is going to happen. I don't know what happens with the belt. I'm sure Raleigh's going to fight the winner of that, and then
I've heard
Ryan
rumors,
fights the winner
bro.
of that.
I don't know how true this is, bro, but Raleigh and Ryan have some history with a girl, and I don't know if that's going to come out. Ryan and Raleigh have history with some chick, and if that comes out, Raleigh might just pull that out. So I don't know. Look, I don't know if it's a given that he beats Raleigh. He should beat Raleigh. But I know it's a given, bro. Like, what if Raleigh gets in his head? Like, yeah, I smashed your ex and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying. And like, what if, like, how is he going to react to that?
And look, this is the thing with that. And I think it once again proves where we're at with Ryan is right now, there's sort of a mixture, right? He's not full on Jake Paul. You say, we got to give him more credit than that. This guy's a fighter, right? He's a real fighter. You don't win some of the fights he's won if you're just a YouTube guy. This guy's a fighter, but he has that YouTube element, and Ryan versus Raleigh screams YouTube circuit, right? That's more flash than substance, all flash, and it's gonna sell. By the way, that fight's gonna sell. People don't want to hear that, but that fight's gonna sell. That trash talking is gonna be top shelf trash talking and content. But at the end of the day, it's for a real belt too. It'll be for a real belt. That's the sad part about it. If Raleigh gets through, whoever wins the other fight.
Shout out to Barry Listen with the most politically incorrect statement of all time. Raleigh might be special, but he got retarded power, right? Look, here's the thing. I think the more I'm thinking about this fight, Calix,
You think Ryan loses?
Ryan wins it. I'm not sure.
No,
like,
Ryan's gonna beat him.
You know why? Because if he does his dumb little like shoulder roll, whatever the hell you want to call it, the rye roll, right? Like, Raleigh's gonna hit him in the kidneys, bro. Like, he's gonna hit him in the back of the head. He'll do it like Raleigh's just gonna do it, and Raleigh's gonna tell the ref while he's turning around. He's turning around at me, like whatever he's gonna say, right? And what if Raleigh's like boom, like on him, right? He's like, yeah, I got your girl, pa, pa, pa. Like, and Ryan, like what if he can he overcome that moment? Like if Raleigh brings up the past, because I think he might. It might be psychological warfare, bro. It might just happen. I'm telling you.
So this is Nando 199 super chat. Ryan is JCC Junior 2.0 to the T. Yeah, so appreciate that, Nando. This is the thing.
The fighting smaller guys part, maybe.
Yeah, and just a lot of style, not much substance. Although you got to give Junior credit, he won some meaningful middleweight matches, and he got down to weight. So you got to give him. He's had a better career than Ryan has had for sure. But this is the thing. Somebody told me on Twitter, Ryan Garcia is a poor man's Oscar De La Hoya. I told the guy, look, very, 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 very,
Like
very.
Oscar's like Warren Buffett. And Ryan's like that dude across the corner right now with the cardboard.
I put very and I put it in like 12 caps. 12 times in all caps.
They
like
don't fight
homeless.
nothing alike, bro.
No, homeless, but what they mean is good looking dude, marketable, stuff like that.
That's it. Stops right there.
But the reason I bring that up is Ryan versus Raleigh would be like a very, 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 very poor man's Oscar versus Mayorga. Like that's how the trash talk would go, and I believe that's how the fight would play out. Is I think Ryan is talented enough, fast enough. He has God-given ability, man. Like he does to school a Raleigh Romero. I think as that fight goes on, Raleigh's just so awkward, and his God, like Raleigh. I every time the name comes up, I just think of the Instagram videos of him doing the things on Instagram. It's like, good Lord, is this dude like really special? Like really special? Like, but anyway,
special with retarded power. Man,
that's what I wonder.
We're gonna get banned by YouTube.
We're done. I wonder that myself though. Like when I'm watching him, I think he's really deep on the spectrum, and no disrespect to them. It's just like I think that's where he is. But Edwin Castillo, $5 super chat. Is IBF weight class mandatory? I remember Canelo got poop in Kovalev fight, but was IBF. Cali X, how does pay-per-view flop? Monster bit of duck ass sound needs work. I don't know how all that, or I just know when those two guys fight each other, Canelo Benavidez, no rehydration clauses, none of that stuff, man. Let's just, and if the IBF does those sort of things and they follow the rules, whatever. I just want them to do like a regular fight. Just make the weight.
Was that IBF? Fight. Was it an IBF fight?
Which one?
Look that up. I don't know if it was IBF. It might have been, might have not. I don't remember. It could have been. I thought it was WBA for some reason.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know. I just know what Canelo versus Benavidez is what I want to see. And appreciate the super chat. But
it was WBO.
WBO, yeah. But before and after the fight, the constant, just to wrap up my thoughts on Ryan Garcia, is the constant is clearly we have a thin-skinned, entitled guy who has potential, star power, a lot of flash, a lot of ability, but it's still very raw. And I think when it's this raw, this late in the game, I wonder if he'll ever get it together, right? If he's been through this many trainers and he's still fighting the same way and still trying to find an identity, his identity is he's flash. His identity is TikTok. He's the TikTok Instagram guy, like the generational guy. He's the microcosm of that. That's his identity. But his identity as a fighter is, I think he's going to lose the top shelf guys. He's caught in the middle, and he's going to beat some guys on Duarte's level. He's going to be stuck there forever, and he's never going to find that identity as a fighter, I think. But that's my assessment. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, he keeps reminding us that he found God, but I wanted to find his identity as about. He should pray for an identity in the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, for those bringing up the IBF, it's not going to be the IBF against Benavidez. Benavidez is the number one guy in the WBC. Yeah, so that's not going to happen. But that's just a side note. But and it was WBO against Kovalev. I'm getting mixed information. So somebody's lying. I guess we got to find out who was lying about if there was a rehydration clause or not, right? But I'll get to the bottom of it for sure. But either way, Canelo has made it very clear. He's been very aware of people are going to criticize me if I fight this guy. They're going to say he's too small. People are going to criticize me if I bring this guy down, which he was correct about, right? With Bivol, because Andre Ward was already out there saying, "Oh, he's going to force this guy down to 168," and so Canelo's very aware of all those things. That's why I don't believe he'll put a rehydration clause against David. I just don't.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. You can't do that to a mandatory anyway. You know what I mean? Like so you can't implement those things. It's like a rematch clause. You can't really force them to. You could offer it, but you can't force it. But anyway, when it comes to Ryan, I think it's going to be the Raleigh fight. Quite frankly, I do, because it's the easiest fight for the most money that he can make. Yeah. Somebody put up Barboza. I honestly think Barboza is a really tough fight for Ryan. Mm-hmm. Don't know who I would pick. I would have to think about it, but it's a tough fight, a much tougher fight than Raleigh, in my opinion. But it is what it is.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to talk about, because this was broken Saturday before the main event. Love this fight. Munguia versus Ryder, January 27th. Love that fight. That is a banger of a fight. And credit to Munguia. We've been saying, man, like, we got to move with Munguia, right? Something's got to happen, because if he's not going to be fighting the top fights, let's get him more active at least. Let's just get activity, because he's a fun fighter. But I love this fight. Good. And this is one of those fights that if Munguia beats Ryder here, that is a clear step in the right direction at 168 from Munguia moving up to 168, because I must stay consistent with Ryder. I was higher on him than a lot of people going into the Canelo fight. I thought he performed well in the Canelo fight. And in watching him in the Canelo fight, what did I say at the time? I said, I think this guy can beat a lot of guys in the top 10 at 168. He's a legit top 5 to 7 guy in the weight class. And I still stand by that. So Munguia fighting him. There's a lot of rumors out there about Canelo versus Munguia. Some people say this makes it fall through. I don't know what to make of those rumors, to be honest. And I've always said, if they're going to put this in the contract to where Munguia gets to fight if he beats Ryder, gets to fight with Canelo, I tell you, that's quite the leap, because I think Ryder beats him. I'm sitting here right now, and I don't think I'm going to change on this. And if the odds are plus 200, like people are sending me, for John Ryder, I'm picking John Ryder to win this fight. I think John Ryder wins this fight in a banger of a fight. This is going to be a war. It's a beautiful matchup right here. But I could see it going to Munguia as well. But what do you think about this? What's your initial reaction to this announcement?
I love the fight. We've been saying for a long time. Look, Larry Listen just posted a comment. That's what we've been doing over here anyway. We've been saying Munguia is an action fighter. Munguia is a fighter that brings it. He's entertaining to watch. Say whatever you want. I've never seen a boring Munguia fight. I've never been bored out of my mind watching Munguia. If anything, bro, this Munguia fight, like that fight with Derevchenko, I was on my feet in the living room the whole fight.
Yeah,
like that's how good.
That's one of the fights. That's one of the best fights of the year.
If a fight has you on your feet and go, oh shit, you don't know what's going to happen 3 seconds from now, because it's that crazy of a fight.
Yep.
Those are the type of fights that Munguia gives you. Is exciting. He brings it. He could be this generation's like Arturo Gatti, like that has a fan base. He's dangerous for anybody, but at the same time, he's always there to win fights. He's always going to have wars with those B-level fighters, and usually wins those wars. He'll probably lose against A-level fighters, but he'll always be dangerous and marketable in the process, right? Yep. I just want to make sure that people understand what you're watching. When you watch Munguia fight, understand what you're buying. Understand what you're tuning in for, okay? If you go in and you're like, oh, man, he needs to work on his defense. like, dude, can you just sit down and enjoy the damn fight? Like, you know what I mean? Let his team and him figure that out, and like what you're watching an action fight is what you're doing. And I'm going to tell you right now, we have a saying over here. It's called chingazos. Okay. Remember when Killer Plan with listo para chingazos? Remember he was saying that? Right. That means they're going to fucking throw down. Ryder and Munguia are going to throw down, bro. They're going to throw chingazos in that fight. Ain't no dude going to back up. They're going to step to each other. This is two bulls going at it. Ain't no matador here. Ain't nobody wearing no matador suit here, bro. This is two bulls coming at it, going at it, right? And it's going to be interesting who's going to take the initiative. And then I think there's going to be ebbs and flows in the fight because of that. This is an exciting fight. I can't wait for this fight. John Ryder stood there and he traded blows with Canelo late in that fight. You don't think he's going to trade blows with Munguia? Oh, you best believe he is. Does Munguia have the power to make it a great fight? Absolutely. So does Ryder, by the way. This is a hell of a fight. I can't wait for this fight. Doesn't mean I believe Munguia is getting the Canelo fight. That's not what it means at all. But it does mean that I'm looking forward to this one. And this is what we've been wanting. Because you have my word. Win, lose, or draw, I'm still going to watch Munguia after this. Yes. Period. I'm going to keep watching this dude. Right? He loses to Ryder. I'm not going to be, oh, he lost to Ryder. It's over. No, I'm going to be a guy that's going to say, man, I can't wait to watch that dude fight again. You know what I mean? Let's keep it going. Right?
Munguia is one of those.
Well, real quick, you remember like Lamberley had like his Gotti list or whatever, and then he had his pound for pound list. Yeah, Munguia would be number one probably, or he's up there. Alex, let me give you a very challenging question. Name me three dudes that you could say are more exciting than Munguia.
Williams paid off the top of my head. You got me on that. I would put my Munguia top three. He's must watch TV.
I gotta be honest with you. Munguia fights are more dramatic than Zepeda fights.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, like I get that he's flawed, but I honestly believe I think Munguia is trying his best. Like, you know what I mean? That's just who he is. Like, people wanted to turn it to Pernell Whitaker or some shit. I don't know what they think. You know what I mean? Like Apollo Creed's going to take him to go find the eye of the tiger. And he's going to come out boxing like Ray Robinson. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
This is who Munguia is, and I love him for it. Like, I swear to God, bro. Like, this dude is exciting to watch. And you know what? So is Ryder. You know, so this is a fight of the year candidate, and I'm here for it, bro. I'm here for it. Like, I am.
Yeah, it's one of those matchups that, as soon as people started to float it out there for January, I was like, please make that fight, please make. Because I've been waiting for them to make Munguia versus Berlanga. I was like, please, could just make the fight. That's a great fight for both fighters, and there's a lot in it for both fighters. But this is better. This is better than that because Ryder is a better fighter than Berlanga. And Ryder, as we saw in the Canelo fight, he's going to stand his ground. He's not going to go anywhere. And if Munguia wins this fight, he don't even, like you said, he doesn't have to win the fight for us to continue to show up. He just has to fight the fights. We've detailed this, right? We don't need him to keep his own. We don't need any of that. Just get something moving with this guy. Let's go. And they're doing it. And this stylistic matchup right here, neither guy is going to want to take a back step in this. Neither one guy is going to want to clinch. It's that type of fight. High stakes, high output fight. And Ryder has a hell of a chin. You saw that in the Canelo fight. This guy has a hell of a chin. So you have a guy that's in front of Munguia that if Munguia stops Ryder, I don't want to hear that. And it's possibly true. Canelo took a lot out of him. People are going to be saying that if Munguia stops him, but I don't want to hear it. Like, that is a big time victory if he stops Ryder, just if he beats him, but just fighting the fight. Now we got a positive direction here from Munguia. Let's get it going. I love that. God, I love that matchup. These are the matchups we want to see in boxing. Just entertaining fighter, same division. Do the fight. Let's go. Let's do this fight. Let's make an action star. Let's create an action star here. And you could get that out of this from Munguia. I'm telling you, with Munguia, he could be one of those action stars in boxing. He's already there. He's already there. He's already doing good live gates from what I hear. People are showing up, but give us more of that and more people will show up. More money.
I remember a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember the guy that ran HBO boxing. I forgot his name, but they had asked him, what makes HBO the gold standard? Like, what makes HBO like the top, like up here? Even till this day, people think of HBO and they think, yeah, you know what, that was the golden standard, right? It felt like big time boxing when you watch HBO. You heard that theme music, you felt it, right? And it was always what's essential is we need the best fighter in the world, and we also need the most exciting fighter in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their formula. They had the Oscar De La Hoyas and the Bernard Hopkins and the Floyd Mayweathers, and they had those the Roy Jones, right? They had the top pound for pound guys, which look like in De La Hoya's case, even Mayweather and lower, they were still exciting, right? But they also had Arturo Gatti,
Yeah.
right? And even bro, even when I was growing up and watching Arturo Gatti fight, even then I understood what the Arturo Gatti product was. I wasn't there expecting the most skilled guy in the world to show me to try to pitch a perfect game. No, I was there to watch a slugger try to hit home runs.
Yeah.
I understood what I was watching. I understood Gotti is not up there with those other guys, but you know what? He's still a good fighter, and my God, he puts on the best fights. And the zone has an opportunity here with a lot of these guys, right? And with Munguia to say we have the most exciting fighter in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And I never see him promoted that way.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong. I never seen Golden Boy promote him that way. De La Hoya talks about him like, oh, Munguia, yeah, he's the guy that could dethrone Canelo, and that's not believable, Oscar. Nobody believes he could beat Canelo. No, like nobody believes that. But what they will believe is this is the most exciting fighter. That's how you promote this fight. This is the most exciting fighter on the planet. He's going to fight another exciting fighter, another guy that brings it. And you know what you're tuning in? You're tuning in for a possible fight of the year candidate
Mm-hmm.
in Phoenix that day. That's what you're tuning into. All right. I always felt this way. We've been consistent about this. Like Munguia, he was just protected a little too much
Yeah.
when it wasn't necessary. We had Roberto Diaz, and he agreed with us. So yeah, like just put him out there. People will watch him. People are gonna love this guy. Like no matter win, lose, or draw, there are just guys out there that win, lose, or draw. They're gonna draw the fan base. Though there's people are
Yep.
still gonna go out there and watch them, right?
Yep.
And I'm telling you, you mentioned one. Cepeda's one of them. Of course, we got Floyd Schofield. We talked about earlier. Always excited to watch.
Morataya.
Morataya, Nikita Zoo. Look, Nikita
Yeah.
Zoo fights are more exciting than Tim Zoo fights.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. You got to watch him fight. You know what I mean? Like, at the moment, anyway, he looks more flawed than Tim. You know what I mean? So it's going to be very, very interesting. So I am looking forward to this fight. I'm actually going to be at that fight. All right. So anyone in Phoenix, D-Style Boxing will be at the fight. I might take some HCP t-shirts out there. You know what I mean? We'll see. And by the way, just really quick to the chat, everybody put an X up. Give us your X's in the chat. Let us know you're there, by the way. All right. Because we're here giving you guys a good show. I'm just saying.
And here's the last thing I'll say on that is you made a baseball comparison as slugger. In boxing, I feel like, especially in American boxing, everybody wants to promote all the top fighters or all the big prospects coming up as Tony Gwynn, right? The guy who can possibly hit 400, the guy who can read the stitches on the fastball or time every single pitcher, no matter who it is, these genius hitters. And promote some of these guys as just sluggers. Like, it's okay if he strikes out 100 times. It's okay if he's a guy that either hits a home run or strikes out. Baseball has everything. They have every type of hitter, and every sport needs that. We need guys who can just dunk, just shoot three-pointers. There's a market for everybody, and now there's this huge gap, this huge vacuum of guys who are sluggers. We need guys who are sluggers. We need guys who are going to go for the knockout. Every once in a while, they look terrible in the ring. That's fine. But then they'll give you some of the best knockouts. They'll give you some of the best, most entertaining fights. And there's a huge market for that. We don't need all these guys to be Tony Gwynn. We don't. We don't need that. Every once in a while, it's nice to have a guy who's gonna hit 50 home runs and strike out 150 times. It's fine. It's fine. It's entertaining as hell to watch. So give us those guys too. But any final thoughts from you?
Hey, fired Morales. I hope he gets knocked out, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's what he gets. I was playing. But with that said, thanks for the X's, guys. Look, there's you always talk about the vacuum, Calix. And I hate to like I sound like a broken record, but we got some people that earlier said, "Hey, I found your channel. Welcome, by the way. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you keep tuning in. Hit that bell button if you haven't already." But here's the thing: like we need structure in boxing. Like we need something similar, like to Friday Night Fights. Now we got the pro box stuff, but it's on YouTube and hopefully it grows. But I would rather than maybe get a deal with the zone and build from there. But we need like something similar. We don't really have like a home that's similar to what that stands for what like boxing after dark used to stand for.
Yeah.
But we don't really have that. You know what I mean? Like everything, like you want to look at the zone, everything is scheduled. You watch if you want. That's it. You know what I mean? But there's no like a boxing show that the zone has that's called something like Boxing After Dark, and we know what that represents and what that means. And
we know what time
like,
it is.
Yeah, we know what time it is. We know what's up, right? Friday Night Fights. We understood what Friday Night Fights was. We understood what, and then we understood what World Championship Boxing was. Everything is so broken now that Showtime and Espinosa put Jake Paul on a world championship boxing pay-per-view. That's what it was called. Well, Jake Paul's not world championship boxing, but it just shows you that they just call everything that now. Everything's called world championship boxing. Everything labeled that way, but not everything is. We saw Michael Conlan fall on Saturday, by the way, in dramatic fashion. Yeah. He offensively, he's still there, but he just doesn't have any punch resistance. But there should still be a home for guys like that. If he wants to continue his career, maybe at a much lower level, but he could still put on great fights for guys. A home for somebody like a Berlanga, you know what I mean? And we need something like like for the guys like for Munguia, bro. Like there should be a lane for action fighters that I think even diehard boxing fans don't acknowledge right now for some reason. Yeah. And that has to be the structure. You know, if there's a lane for YouTubers, you tell me there's no lane for violent affairs, like violent fighters, signs of violence fighters, as 916 Chris would say. There should be, and that is that.
And my final thoughts are: love, very excited for the matchup between Munguia and Ryder. Also, I'm getting excited about this fight on Saturday. Prograis versus Haney. I'm still critical on it being on pay-per-view, as we should be, but I really think people are underestimating Prograis going into this fight. 4-1 underdog. I don't see it. I think this is a tricky fight for Haney, I believe. I think it's a trickier fight than people believe because, as I saw a clip from Lukey Boxing saying earlier, back-to-back southpaws for Haney. It's not easy, and he's had trouble with southpaws and landing that jab, so he's had to land power shots against southpaws, and I'm telling you, Prograis's not a guy you want to be trading with. So we'll see what happens with that. And as far as Ryan Garcia goes, I think it's going to be a lot of style, but he's going to give us some fun moments as the ride goes on. But I'm not expecting top tier great wins from him. But I do think we're going to get some fun stuff throughout his career. Still a very flawed fighter, and I don't think he's going to sharpen those things up at any point in his career. I think those will always be there, much like what we saw with Victor Ortiz. We're going to have a lot of ugly losses, but we're going to have a lot of fun times in there too. So just to keep it real on Ryan, and none of this is hate. None of it is hate. It just, that's what we have at this point. We have a stylish flawed but explosive fighter at the same time. Just doesn't
Yeah.
know what to do with that explosiveness. And we're gonna have a lot of fun times, but it could be a train wreck at the same time. So a lot of times those careers are fun to watch. But on that note, we will see y'all tomorrow over on D Styles channel at some point. You got any idea on the time for that?
It'll be around like not 100% confirmed, but after like 6 p.m. Eastern, like
There we
after
go.
that. So just stay posted, guys. I hit the like button and hit the bell
Make
button so
sure
you're
you're hitting
notified.
the make sure you're hitting the bell button on me and D Styles channel because we're just hearing people aren't getting alerts. I don't know if that's people just not doing that extra step or if YouTube's being YouTube again. I don't know, but
We're gonna, obviously we're live every week, so just stay posted. Another way to stay posted with is on Twitter or X. At D Style Boxing. I think Calix is what is it? Calix Boxing 2.0, something
Cal's
like that,
boxing
or
too.
2.
Yeah, Cal's
Okay, so
boxing too.
that's a good way to keep it track of us. Also, we're at 2.6 thousand views with the Glenn Jennings interview. So you guys haven't already, make sure you go and check that out. Hit the like button. That helps it give visibility. So we definitely appreciate everybody's support with that.
All right, we out. God bless. Peace.